Sean, I think it's probably a little warmer in Dallas, Texas today than it is here, isn't it?
It is. It's a touch warmer. We've just crossed the 81-degree mark, and I hope we stay below 100.
I like the way you said that earlier. We're hoping we stay out of the hundreds today. He is Sean Magennis, who joins us this morning from Dallas, Texas. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And Sean is a business strategist, the chairman of Lumini, a global organization of administrative assistants and executive assistants, and we want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the personnel office today. Sean, I've always said that one of the things that you need to do in this business is make yourself as valuable to your company as you possibly can. And of course, with so many people now and in this past year working from home, the question is that value appreciated? Is it the same? And I guess HR managers are asking those same questions, aren't they?
They are. They absolutely are. And the reality is, I think I've heard it called the new hybrid work from home, work remote anywhere. I think it's here to stay. My concern is a couple of things. There are advantages and disadvantages. I think for the employee, the fear of being overlooked for promotions, there is a danger of being overlooked or for being ignored for career development opportunities when working remotely. I think that is solvable, and I think there are techniques and there are strategies that employees can use to overcome that. The reality, the harsh reality, is that those visible employees in the office environment can aggressively campaign for their positions. In all likelihood, they'll have the edge. However, you can adopt some very strategic countermeasures so that you are not overlooked in the equation or in the conversation.
I'm guessing as well that there are some jobs that are much more suited for remote work than others.
100%. I mean, the classic, if you're in a manufacturing environment, or you work in a hospital, or you work in armed services or security, those require you to operate out of your workspace. But there are thousands of roles that are very, very well suited to remote work, and companies have realized that remote work's been an overwhelming success, both for the employees and the employers. And so the shift in attitude is been remarkable. I think the office is here to stay, but my research shows that its role is set to change. And so instead of coming to the office and sitting in a booth cheek by jowl, can offices be transformed into collaboration zones? Can you offset some of that real estate investment and really think about how you can embrace the remote worker in such a way that maximizes the advantages to them? And there are significant advantages for working from home, but there are also disadvantages, and I'd be happy to run through what I'm seeing.
Yeah, please do.
So, the ability to work from anywhere, anytime, the traditional 9-to-5 working day no longer applies. You don't have the daily commute. Most people don't enjoy their daily trek into the office, particularly if it's lengthy. There's a lot of flexibility from working at home to design your own schedule, particularly if you're negotiating that effectively, openly, and transparently with your supervisor. It's less costly. So working from home means you save money on transportation, eating out, those types of things. It also does have a positive impact on your physical health because you could probably get some physical exercise in. One of the downsides is we as human beings need our social interaction. Even the most withdrawn, introspective of us benefits from being with other people. And so the need for high discipline and dedication and self-control for the remote worker is very high. And then making sure that lack of workplace social life doesn't become a negative issue. And to counteract that, I advocate trying to go into the office now and then, schedule lunch dates with both your supervisor and your colleagues. Make sure you're in the office environment when there's a celebration for a project that's been completed successfully. And then, we're all leveraging technology very effectively today. We're relying on video conferencing and email and text. But, maybe create some opportunities where if there's a concentration of workers in your neighborhood, meet at a local Starbucks. Try having a meeting at a museum or something out of the ordinary where you don't have to travel as far, but it creates the opportunity to connect. So the lines, bottom line, the lines have been blurred. So whilst working from home allows you to enjoy more of a work-life balance, the flip side of that is keep your schedule really tight. You've got to be able to have your breaks. You've got to be able to have a break and recharge. And unfortunately, what we've seen is people are working longer hours, working remotely. They're working less busy type of hours. They seem to be more productive. And that's where the skill of the manager comes in to make sure that they're not getting burnout.
Sean Magennis is our guest, a business strategist, helping us to get a grip on remote working from home. Sean, in the last year, of course, some of those jobs that are more suited for remote working were very easily slid into the pandemic and the fact that they had to. But some of those jobs that aren't as easy a fit still had to make those adaptations. How well did we do?
Basically, I think we did very well. I mean, obviously, there have been challenges, and those challenges still exist. But I think on both sides, if I look at the ratings, I think employers actually liked it more than the employees, if I look at the statistics. But I think for both it was good. Those companies that adapted well and really thought it through and created opportunities and mechanisms for communication and for checking in and developing regular cadences of meetings, they've done extraordinarily well. But again, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. I think there's going to be a shakeout. I think the traditional businesses, and you've heard it from some of the big company CEOs, want their people back at work, and suddenly the ugly rearing of, this new COVID strain comes along and they pull back. And so I think we're going to still see a flex. Offices are not going to go away, but I think organizations that are smart are going to reconsider how they consolidate office space, particularly in premier locations. Are they going to open more satellite offices? Can they deploy some of the savings and the efficiencies gained from their remote workforce and put that into things that really maintain the culture and create the sense of we're working on a team, we have a mission, we have a purpose. It's going to be a lot more concentration on how that works than it has been in the past.
People working from home, of course, might find themselves or perceive themselves as being at a disadvantage over someone who does work within the office space. Is there a way for them to avoid the perception that they're a less valuable employee and therefore that they are more likely to be among the first who get laid off when that situation arises?
I think there is a concern there. I would pose the question a little differently, because I think you and I both agree that without people, organizations don't exist. Mm-hmm. So the social contract between the employer and the employee is very important. And by the social contract, I mean, you have a willing buyer, the employer of the services of the employee, and you have a willing seller. I think the most important thing for those that have that concern is to be in regular communication with your manager and supervisor, to let them know that you're interested, that you are upwardly mobile, that you do want to progress your career within the organization. And you do that by making sure that you have, your regular touch points on a weekly basis. Like I said before, that you're popping into the office and that you're being aware and that you're tapped in to what's happening in the organization. Your colleagues are always a great source of information. And so keeping your eyes and ears open, I think, is vital. And it behooves the employer as well to take responsibility to make sure that managers that are managing a remote workforce are properly trained. They need to be better mentors. They need to be better at coaching, at listening. Transparency is now key. So hyper-transparency and honesty. And then, within that construct, I think there's a lot of room for the negatives or the skeptics or the downsides of it to be managed. There is no question that the least experienced workers need the office the most. A lot of research has shown that. Mm-hmm. And so, those individuals are getting used to, well, what is the business? What is the culture of the company? Who are the influencers? Who are the people that I need to make sure that I have relationships with? So it's likely more value for those that have, are newer to the role. And it's important that company training programs and orientation really build the confidence in those people so that if they determine that they can work remotely, that it's a positive experience and that they're not left to their own devices or without the kind of support that we all need.
Just a minute left this morning with Sean Magennis, a business strategist, the chairman of Lumini. Sean, this obviously is a new dynamic for us all to absorb. Is it something you saw coming? You've been in this for a while. Did you see this sort of a dynamic and this sort of I don't know that it's a competition, but this thing developing it the way that it has?
Yes, remote work is not new. I mean, obviously, the focus driven by the pandemic has shone a light on it. But I ran an organization called the Young Presidents Organization, YPO, for 8 years, and we were global, and we've been we've been 83% remote for the last 30 years. So we were very used to working and collaborating and managing a remote workforce, and we have clusters of people all around the world. So it's not new. However, for the majority of people that were forced to work from home because of safety precautions, it is new. And so, there's a lot of data. There's a tremendous number of people that can help with this. They're great consultants, and human resources departments have stepped up tremendously in organizations. The benefits, I think, of a flexible work environment far outweigh the negatives. As long as you're putting the practices in place, the communication is well thought through, and you're not disadvantaging somebody because they can't come in, or you've decided that there's going to be this flexible work environment. I think if you start to see people being disadvantaged and taken advantage of, it's a slippery slope. And I don't know a company CEO in my personal network, and I know a lot of them, that would damage their companies by creating that kind of environment.
He is Sean Magennis. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. It's been enlightening.
Such a pleasure, and have a wonderful day, and the same to your listeners.